Pay attention to this, listen up.
In the days of slavery. In the days of slavery. In the days of slavery. In the days of slavery.
Treat him like an animal, forget he's a man.
I'm the spirit of a slave from the days when it was chains. Cold days and rain, cotton fields and pain. Pressure on my brain, cause in my previous life the slave master murdered my child and beat up my wife. He raped her twice, I heard her screaming for the demons bloody semen. I closed my eyes and tried to fantasize that I was dreaming. Without no reason, next morning accused of stealing. I was whipped up on my back until the nerve ends had no feeling. Subjected to a beating, I was kicked from floor to ceiling. Then forced to pick more cotton with my wounds open and bleeding. The cuts they started weeping as the blood started congealing. I was overcome by pain and couldn't wait till I was sleeping. A couple days passed again, I heard my wife screaming. She shouted, he's killed our baby, now my eyes they started weeping. My wife was 6 months pregnant when subjected to the rape. He tore the interior of her womb and caused umbilical to break. So my son will never wake, he's born dead, a tragic fate. I only hope my son will wait for his father with Zion's gate. My mental state had to keep it strong just for my wife's sake. But every day that I was living, man, my heart constantly ache. I knew there'd be a price to pay, might be a time to wait, but in the end I'd have revenge upon that murderous snake. Sometimes I'd have a sleepless night where I could see my son's face. I'm just a slave, so I can only wish to see my son's grave. I'm only glad that he was born to live the life of a slave. Still getting whipped, beat and kicked at a ripened old age. Now I pray for the day that master makes a mistake. Just give me one chance and I stab him in his heart with a stake. Lynch him by his throat, strangle till his vertebrae break. Stamp on his breastplate, smash every bone inside his ribcage. Now I know it's wrong to hate, but I can't help the way I feel. It keeps eating at me every day, I'm working in the fields. I have to get him back for my son, wife and the attack on my back with the whip that almost left my spine snap. So I lay back and pray that I enforce a payback before he dies. I make him say that, look in his eyes before I rip them from the sockets, put them in my pocket, take the key to the slave main chains and unlock it, free the slaves, burn the farm, grab my wife and rerun. Now we're hiding from a posse of slave masters with guns, with fingers on their triggers, ready to deliver a bullet to heart, kidney or liver of any slave nigga. But I'm not afraid, nigga, I figured the day would come when I sacrifice my life in the name of my son.
Listen up.
In the days of slavery. How can this happen?
Treat him like an animal, forget he's a man.
Already 6 years and cried sick tears of pain and anguish, vexation and frustration every day on the plantation. But I knew if I was patient, the time would surely come when I could even out the score for my poor wife and my son. Now on Sunday, I had the chance to get the job done. Obviously, I took my chance with someone's life at the done. He made a big mistake, left me in the vicinity of a gun. I shot him in his kneecaps, he lost the ability to run. Now it's time to have some fun. I'm not acting like a demon, I got more than good reason to get even with this heathen. As I thought he begged for sympathy, it meant nothing to me. As I swore, I tore his eyes out so he's got nothing to see. I made a noose, put it round his neck and lynched him from a tree. Burned his body to a carcass in front of his family. Before I torched him, I whipped him how he used to whip me. I took my time with a cat of nine, I didn't do it quickly. The other slaves, they were my audience, they stood and sipped tea that I had ordered to be made by his wife and his picnic. How many lashes? About 1,263. Still that don't come close to the pain that he inflicted on me.
Listen up.
In the days of slavery. How can this happen?
Treat him like an animal, forget he's a
This was
man.
the slave trade days, very different from nowadays. Black couldn't sit back, relax, kick raps and blaze. Treated like apes from caves, like Africans were retarded. So like cows and sheep, but in the human meat market. My father's father was a slave, mother's mother was the same. Such a shame, a life of mental scars, with marks and chains. Controlled on all occasions by Caucasians, running a slavery operation while they preach the Christian indoctrination. The truth is, they live their life like unholy pagans, causing devastation, rape, murder, torture and mutilation. That's why me and my wife are in this tricky situation. Had to be a brave slave to take the life of all Caucasian. I knew the further trials and tribulations both of us were facing. Start running, they start chasing, there ain't no real escaping. So we ran up to the hills and had a serious conversation. Looked in my wife's eyes, she knew we had to decide. We wasn't disrespecting God, this was a forceful suicide. If we didn't take our own lives, we'd be tortured and burned alive. Before the posse could arrive, we swore that we would part never. So we took our lives together and sealed our spirits forever. While my wife and child are peaceful, I find it hard to rest. Still haunted by the slave life, being stressed and oppressed. Although our lives are God blessed, from the spirit, soul to the flesh. I had my whole life turned round, the devil made it a mess. The slave master done his piece to help the mark of the beast. Now I'm a spirit of a slave, finding it hard to rest in peace.